Do not listen to those scientists or engineers. They're full of it. In this report, how to modify your caravan to maximise your access to free energy. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, the place where Strayan new car buyers save thousands off their brand new cars. Yes. Hit me up on the website. Like that. This report is going to seem fairly strange, I guess, unless you watch my previous two videos. Links in the description down there. Fair warning, okay? You might think I am gratuitously criticising caravans for their double-digit IQs and their scientific illiteracy, their overall dumbshittery. But in truth, I have nothing but respect for and envy of course, those interesting Strayans who have taken the decision to live out their twilight years travelling from Dingo's Donga Pass to Mount Busted Arse and back, etc. Towing their 3-tonne, $80,000 shitter with its attached kitchenette and, sleeping facilities. Despite the advent of hotels. Just saying. Most people don't know this, okay? But we engineers and scientists are all indoctrinated. We're all taught about free energy at university, but not until after we sign the big non-disclosure agreement. It's wide-ranging, this document, and it covers such things as the real shape and age of the Earth, the truth about vaccines and perpetual motion, the moon, of course, and why we'll never actually get there, the lizard people being in charge, the extraterrestrial visitation treaty, how Ouija boards really work, etc. Items of that nature. The simple fact is, free energy is available to all backyard innovators, and it is easy to achieve and access. Engineers and scientists, they collaborated many years ago, disgracefully, to fabricate the laws of thermodynamics in order to convince the public that free energy was impossible, which kind of made these professions necessary for the functioning of society. But most average people suspect, I'm sure, that this is just a massive con. And you backyard geniuses with caravans in particular, you know the truth, right? So coming up, the top 5 caravan free energy hacks you can do in the shed at home to transform your high-priced mobile shitter from operating always on marginal power, which is hateful, to truly having access to limitless energy. And you can do this today. But first, this from you yesterday. No talking about boobies in this episode. And this, I'm a little disappointed, mate. No boobies? WTF. And of course, this. After pining about the benefit and value of concentrating on boobies in your previous video, you have none in this video. I believe this omission makes a sizable dent in your credibility. I understand and apologise from the bottom of my heart for any confusion relating to yesterday's video. I acknowledge the deeply therapeutic nature of boobies, and I have stood down my sponsorship manager for accepting yesterday's sponsorship activation from Wonder Bra. What was he thinking? It was an ill-conceived short-term grab for cash that put you in the audience last, disgracefully, and I assure you as your next Prime Minister, this will never happen again. I trusted him to know that whenever Wonder Bra gets involved at any level, ultimately you just end up sitting there wondering where the boobies actually went. It's deflating, frankly. That's a hell of a lot better, I think you'd agree. Safe to say we are back on track on this fine channel. Yes. Now, free energy hack number 1, the jockey wheel generator. Degree of difficulty, dead easy, mate. Can be accomplished with basic hand tools in about 5 or 6 beers. All you do is cut the bottom off your jockey wheel and save the wheel. Then you whip down to the local wreckers and you procure a used alternator. Back in the shed, you remove the pulley from the front of the alternator and replace that with the wheel you removed from the standard jockey wheel assembly just 1 or 2 beers ago. Then you attach the body of the alternator to the freshly cut spar of the jockey wheel, and you can do that any way you like, with epoxy resin or a simple angle bracket, or you can be a complete knob and braze it on. It's easy is kind of what I'm saying. You can get creative and do it any way you like. And then, before you set off, you just level the rig and you wind down the jockey wheel to ensure firm contact with the road. And you thus get endless free energy as you drive with minimal modification. And I estimate you can fit as many as 8 jockey wheel generator units to a standard caravan drawbar. Yes, and at 120 amps a piece, that's going to deliver like 1,000 amps at standard highway speeds, or 12 kilowatts of free electrical power continuously. It's a friggin' miracle. Free energy hack number 2, exhaust gas heating. Now what you do here, okay, you whip down to Bunnings and you grab a 3-inch hole saw and some fireproof builder's bog. You drill a hole in the front of the van and the rear of the van, and then you have the local muffler shop run a piece of basic exhaust pipe straight through the van. And you fill it up with builder's bog. Not the pipe, just the gap between the walls of the van and the pipe with this sort of refractory bog. Or, instead of going straight through, of course, you can get creative and you can tap a coil that goes through the oven and, of course, your fucking rice cooker, so that you can cook a roast camel or whatever with rice for free on the move. Yes, from A to B out there in Dingo pissland. Then you just hook the vehicle's exhaust to the caravan's exhaust, and you do that with some 3-inch braided fireproof hose. You can get that anywhere, a couple of hose clamps. It's dead easy. You just run an extra long exhaust and lunch off all that waste heat. Yes. If it's really cold where you're headed, you can also do this, okay? Get the vehicle's DPF, the tow vehicle's DPF, and move it inside the van into your exhaust extension. And then you can plug into the vehicle's diagnostics port and make a forced regeneration of the DPF happen when the night is at its most bitterly cold. Yes, thus beating Mother Nature again into submission. Yes, hashtag humanity. Perfect free heat, even in the most frigid of environments. Just right, for example, for a tour of Tasmania this winter with your lovely wife. Or, in terms a caravaner might understand better, a lap of Tassie with the map of Tassie. Yes. If you're worried about the risk of fire en route while, let's call it cooking, simply hook up a powerful vacuum pump, okay, to your jockey wheel generator array and draw the atmosphere in the van down to 0 psi with your free energy. Thus, combustion will no longer be supported no matter how much fat spills onto the exhaust while you're roasting that camel and fucking rice. If you're worried about the structural integrity of the van in that evacuated state, cooking condition, whatever, i.e., establishing the vacuum of space that's not funny, inside the van, whip down to the local tyre shop instead and fill the van with nitrogen gas instead, because it won't support combustion either. Note, this rather neat nitrogen trick is actually how they manage to weld inside big tanks in fuck-off explosive environments such as inside oil refineries. Just remember, if you go this way, to ventilate the van thoroughly before dining right next to the shitter, because nitrogen on its own is a friggin' suffocation hazard, and we wouldn't want you withdrawing your genes from the pool prematurely, as they are clearly too valuable to the human race. Okay, moving on. This next hack is a little costly and somewhat more involved. Degree of difficulties climbing here. You will need to cut out the entire rear wall of the caravan with a big jigsaw and replace it with a fold-up door that also doubles as the ramp for a car, just like on a C-130 Hercules. Then, buy yourself an EV, like, I don't know, a Kona Electric or a Tesla Model 3 or even a shitbox Leaf. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You just want the EV for the battery, okay? You drive the EV into the van using your new ramp/door arrangement, and you might have to reposition some of the items in the van internally, of course, to facilitate that. Tap into the battery, okay? And then you can use that to power anything in the van you see fit as necessary. And when the EV runs low on power, just stop at the local Bunnings and grab yourself a block and tackle, right? Now, what you do now is, this is something you'd want to get right, I think you'd agree. Suspend the front of the EV off the ceiling in the van with the block and tackle, and then cut a 2 metre by 2 metre hole in the floor of the van with the jigsaw just underneath the EV's drive wheels. And when the battery gets critically low, what you do is you lower the EV onto the road to engage the drive wheels with the bitumen. Then you power on the EV and set the regenerative braking function to maximum. The EV thus recharges endlessly using the free energy from the motion of the van, which is already moving. Yes, this is an advanced project, certainly, but the benefits are clear. I think you'd agree. Free energy hack number 4. This is ideal if 8 alternators on the jockey wheels are insufficient to meet your free energy needs. You've got to get the van up on blocks securely, okay? And then you remove the existing wheels and the axles. You just gut it down there. Whip down to the wreckers again, and this time get 2 identical solid rear axle assemblies from, I don't know, an old Falcon or Commodore, complete with the wheels, the brakes, the axles, the differentials, and the tail shafts, importantly. Using the hole saw from your existing exhaust heating project, which this will not interfere with at all, just cut 2 holes in the floor directly above the differentials and slide the tail shafts into the holes in the floor so that the diffs replace the previous solid axles, but the tail shafts point up. You have to rotate the axles through 90 degrees for this, right? And that's quite important. You should be able, at this point, once you've mounted everything up, to mount anything from 1 to 4 additional alternators on each vertical tail shaft for a maximum of 8, I think, using the ceiling of the van as support for the alternator bodies. Just glue the bodies of the alternators in place on the ceiling and rig up your own bespoke drive system using either basic hand tools or home workshop machine tools. And again, you're allowed to get creative here because this is a creative undertaking, okay? Free energy is not like a discipline or anything. As you drive, obviously, the motion of the van is going to spin the new tail shafts, and that's going to power as many as 8 additional alternators entirely with free energy. That's a total of 24 kilowatts when you include the jockey wheel generation array on the front. My 5th and final free energy suggestion is perhaps the most ambitious of all, but in many ways also the most elegant, as well as being the most closely aligned with the true nature of the caravanning adventurer. You might want to do this. You'll need the local fiberglass manufacturer to build you a wading pool that matches the footprint of the caravan precisely. Okay, it's a precision undertaking. That's going to be roughly, call it 5 metres long by 2 metres wide by about 1 metre deep. That's just notionally. You've got to get them to build the walls a little bit longer. Just extend them up to minimise spillage as you drive around bends. That's going to be important. Fit the pool to the roof of the van using construction adhesive. And then you take the hole saw from earlier projects and you cut a hole in your van's effluent tank, which is just down there generally beneath the shitter, sort of right underneath the dining table kind of thing. Using standard PVC plumbing fittings, which you can get anywhere like Bunnings, okay, connect the effluent tank below to the pool above. And you'll need to include a non-return valve, obviously, plus a piston-type hand pump and a NutriBullet or similar style of pureable blender thingo inline. Or you just make one yourself in the workshop at home. And what you're aiming for, obviously, is each time you or your lovely wife steps up from the dining table and takes half a step left or right, as the case may be, to visit the shitter and flush, the NutriBullet activates automatically, thereby achieving a uniformly viscous, homogeneous fluid. Ones or twos, it doesn't really matter. The uniform blend of fluid is what we're going for here. As the tank below approaches full, okay, what you've got to do then is get out, employ the hand pump vigorously, and lift the fluid into the pool above. And you just repeat this process until the pool approaches its nominal capacity, which is about 5 by 2 by 1s, about 10 metres, 10 cubic metres of viscous effluent overhead. Yes, that's not funny. This admittedly is an ambitiously voluminous target, I think you'd agree, for 2 people to deliver in a somewhat timely fashion. But caravaners are a gregarious bunch, I note. So I suggest that you invite those of like mind around you during your adventure, whom you probably met as many as, 30 or 40 minutes ago after parking up, to feel free to come over to your place and crack one off adjacent to your dining table anytime, night or day, to get you to the target viscous effluent volume quickly. That's the objective. So you can lunch off that free energy quickly and enjoy that roast camel on rice. 3 squares a day, yes. Remember to puree and pump religiously. Then, when you are finally at nominal capacity, you simply hang a siphon made from weighted flexible hose and PVC downpipe into the pool above, which is also an excellent thermal insulator, by the way. That's good for energy management too. What you do then, you've got the siphon in place, so you suck on the siphon as needed to establish flow, and then you connect the outlet to a hydro-effluent sewage turbine, which is easy to find on Amazon or eBay, or you could just make one yourself in the shed. After all, it's just a propeller in effluent driving another friggin' alternator. This process is going to work because viscous effluent fluid in the pool above has acquired gravitational potential energy by virtue of you pumping it to its current elevation. And this is converted to kinetic flow during the siphoning process thanks to gravity, which, as you know, is free. And then it's converted to electricity inside your hydro-effluent sewage turbine. Simply rest a bucket under the turbine outflow, and when it approaches full, you can either fertilise your surroundings with the excess as you see fit, subject to your own capacity to replenish the total volume with fresh fluid, of course, or just empty the bucket back into the pool if you want a truly endless supply of free effluent energy. This is so elegant because in a caravan you are taking your shit on tour anyway. You might as well put it to work. At this point, you are probably approaching 100 kilowatts or more of totally free energy. You and your shit will be living like a friggin' king, and your lovely wife, of course, living like a queen. As a bonus project, having achieved what science still claims erroneously to be impossible, how about you whip down to Bunnings again and get yourself 4 big galvanised brackets and some self-tapping screws to suit. This is going to be good. Fit them externally to the corners of the van, and then whip out to an industrial supply joint like Hare and Forbes and get 4 of the biggest fuck-off industro workshop vans available to humanity and marry these up to the brackets. And just forget about the specs, okay? They were made up by the same engineers who claim free energy is a myth. What you're going to do at this point is get those fans pointed down, okay, and overcrank the crap out of them using all the free energy to which you now enjoy unlimited access. Depending on the van, of course, it might take 8 fans, I guess. 4 pairs in parallel. It doesn't matter what somebody tells you they can do, okay? What matters is what you believe you can make them do. Never forget this. Your expensive mobile shitter is now also thus a powerful reconnaissance drone. Easy way to control it. And you don't need to be a pilot, clearly. Just get an old DJI Mavic Pro and connect up the control wires to the fans on the van. All you're going to need then is the spirit of adventure, which clearly you already possess. By my calculations, 10 cubic metres of hydro-effluent fluid is enough to keep your van aloft for more than 1 hour of energy-free flight. Yes. Imagine that, being liberated in this way, sitting there at the dining table next to the shitter at 1,000 feet, looking down and around at the Olgas and Uluru, the Apostles, Maralingo, Mount Dingo Pass, or even flying low level through Busted Arse Pass, eating roast camel on rice and hoovering up a beer, living the friggin' dream. Yes. Look me in the eye and tell me that this isn't the greatest damn country on earth.